Hello and welcome to part 5 of the Quiltmania Mystery Block of the Month. This month we're going to be working on the applique border, which is going to use this lovely piece of fabric here. We have lots of different flower shapes on this one and we're going to cut them out to form some interesting shapes in broderie purse. The quilt so far is coming along nicely. We've got the centre, which was month 1. We've made the stars, which were month 2, these interesting triangle blocks for month 3. Month 4 was this piece with the special mystery quilt fabric. So today we're going to focus on putting the applique border in place. When we're finished, it's going to be very much larger than when we started this month. So today I'm going to show you how I do my applique sections here. The first thing we're going to do to get ready for the applique section is to attach the brown stripe border, the width of the background to do your broderie purse and applique, and then the other brown stripe border. We're going to attach those all to the centre section and then we're going to applique down onto that. We need to locate the design within the magazine to draw the line for your vine to sit in place, and then we're ready to find the flowers. So if you're using the mystery fabric, you need to find the same design repeated. There are 16 of these flower designs on the quilt. So here I've cut out one, and I'm going to look on my work and find exactly where the repeat is across the fabric. Once you've located the design, you will carefully cut it out with scissors 1/4 inch larger than the actual area. So it will end up looking like this. So we need 16 of these shapes. So once you've found the 16, we're going to gently put them aside and wait just a little while before we do anything with those. The next thing we need to work on is the bias strip, which will connect all your flowers together. So after you've cut out your 16 pieces, you will have a piece of holey fabric again, like we've done previously with our fussy cutting, etc. I'm going to look for the darker sections within the quilt, the fabric for the quilt, and we're going to cut ourselves a bias strip. Now the bias strip is cut, the way I make it anyway, is cut 3 times the width of the finished piece. So I would like a 3/8 of an inch finished bias, so I'm going to cut this 1 1/8 inches wide. Once we've cut that using the darker area, as I mentioned, you're going to go to the ironing board and gently iron 1/3 of that over to give you a bit of a guide as to where that sits. Then we're going to take the bias in our hands and roll the other 1/3 over, and with a thread with a knot in the end, we're going to do a large basting or tacking stitch through the work and pull it through. Okay, so 1/3 ironed, we're going to roll it over between our fingers and stitch another 1/3 over. This will give us a very even flat bias with lovely smooth area on the front to stitch down, and on the back I can just see the raw edge coming up close to the edge of the binding. Okay, so one more stitch just to see how we do it. Okay, done. So the thread stays in there until you have stitched it in place. Now I've got one here that I've completely stitched down before. You're going to mark the design from the magazine onto your background fabric with pencil so you can see where the curve sits. We're going to take the piece of binding and place it over that line. So we've got a bit of an idea where it's going to sit and the colours. And then with my pins, I make little hurdles So a hurdle is a small stitch on one side of the bias and a small stitch on the other, which means that the fabric moves independently of the pin. It also means that you can adjust exactly where you want that colouring to sit. So I've put a pin in the middle. I'm going to now put a pin in the end, and I'm going to put another pin in this end. That gives me my form and my frame on which to place the curve. Now I can make the curve deeper if I want to, or straighter. I know where that pencil line was, so I'm going to very carefully come around and put one in the middle, and at least one more on each side there. That gives you a really nice curve as you're going around. I'm going to come up into this top corner too and make sure it's nice and smooth, forming that really nice curve. Put one in the centre of my two to start with, and another one here, and another one here. So that's how many pins I would use to give me that really nice shape. And as I mentioned before, if you want to alter the angle or the position of the colour, we can very gently ease that through so that we've got a very nice smooth line. I'm going to take some very fine thread. Today I'm using the Aurifil 80 weight because this is really nice for applique. I've put a knot in the end of my thread, and I'm going to carefully lift this up, put the knot underneath, and then applique down the top surface. As you're going along, you can remove those pins because the bias isn't going to undo itself. Because we've stitched through all layers, the bias will keep nice and flat. Keep going like that. Okay, I've tangled it. Always happens when someone's watching. You can now trim the excess end, and it's not going to unravel itself. I'll just do a little bit more so you can see where we're heading. And there it goes. So I'm up to another pin. Very gently pull out the pin, and we're off again. The Aurifil thread's very fine and hides nicely in amongst your stitching. Right, down to the next pin. Here we are. And pull out the pin. So that gives us a nice smooth edge. And once we've gone all the way along one side, we'll turn around and we'll come all the way back up to the edge there. Now, we also need some leaves. So I've found 2 leaves in amongst my fabric here. These 2, 1, 2. And I've cut them out with plenty of space around this one so that you can see exactly how I've done it. And pop those aside. Now that I've decided which of my 2 leaves, I'm going to trim those just back a little closer as we go. There we go. And around. And this side too. Okay, now I've made a little bit of a mess there. So I'm going to trim that off, put another knot into the end of the thread, and this one we would applique over one of the lines like it is here, so over one of the vines. I'm going to applique off to the side though so you can see exactly how I do it. And let's put a little bit of a few pins just in the edge there to keep it flat. We're going to needle turn this shape. So okay, to start with my thread coming up from behind, and then with my needle I just gently roll the edge under and do a few stitches, and then again, because this is has a lot of cream background around the shapes that we're going to cut out, we don't have to be too fussy about rolling the fabric right back to the edge of the shape. So with needle and thumb, just roll them back. So now we've got a bottom edge of the flower. There we go. Turn a corner in a minute. So the printed design gives us the shape that we're working towards, and they're all going to be slightly different, so don't worry if sometimes you've got more of a background and sometimes you have a little less. As long as we can see the shape, it will be good. Okay. We can see it going around the corner again up the top here. And you can use any flowers or any leaves that you like, whether they're your own fabrics or the Mystery Quilt fabrics, and you can make very interesting designs using this technique. I'm just going to get up to the corner here and turn around the tip of the leaf. Almost. Just a few more stitches. And then turn around and come back down. So we're going to tip that in and swipe that through. Okay, and then down the other side of the leaf. Okay, so we're going to continue like that until you stitch all the way around the leaf section. So the leaf sits here and the flower will sit here, connecting the two vines. The only other thing we need to locate are the buds. So there are 4 buds and they sit in the very corner of each of the patterns on the broderie purse section of your work. Once you've attached your broderie purse applique section to the quilt, we're going to then move on and attach month 2 and month 3 to the quilt centre. The broderie purse needs to be worked first. So we've added the stripe, the solid background and the stripe, and then we've done all the applique in place. And then we're going to work on these two. So hopefully you have made your 20 stars and your various triangle square blocks. The quilt will almost double in size by the time you've added this final border. The instructions for piecing through the diamond shapes, the triangle shapes, the star and the other triangle are all listed in the Quiltmania magazine for this month. We'll be back very, very soon with information on putting the final border on, and then your Quiltmania quilt for 2018 will be complete. I hope you've enjoyed working on them so far. All the elements are slightly different, and I've certainly enjoyed doing it too. So hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon. Bye for now. See you soon.